And welcome to The Edge Live. It's so great to be here with you tonight. Sophia, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Have you had a very good Easter break?
Oh, yes, I have.
What did you do?
Lots of homework, but lots of napping, lots of sleeping, so.
Yes, I would do that, but I have children, so they won't let me do that. And they don't nap anymore, so I can't get that done. So I have to nap in the evenings. Get it?
Like sleep.
Yeah,
yes.
like that normal thing. Tonight's program is brought to you by Crystal Springs Purified Water. We were looking for coffee mugs to look like Jimmy Fallon, but all we could find was these. So here we go, free sponsorship for tonight. And so we are so glad that you guys are all here tonight. I know Bethany's here. I know Gray is here. I know Josie's here. So many people here tonight. Sydney, Kylie, all those people. Adam Rohrboss here tonight. We're so glad you guys are joining us. We hope that you had yourself a very, very good Easter holiday as well. And so right now we are going to get started off with everybody's, been doing really well with these, especially in middle school, is the weekly challenges. All right. So these weekly challenges this week, it was about memes. Do you have a favorite meme?
I like the Kermit the Frog memes.
Yes, where he's sipping the iced tea. Yeah, those are good. Those are good. So encourage middle school to send some memes in. You guys did a pretty good job. We had some people try to get them in last minute. Some were able to, some weren't. But we're going to go through these. These should be up on your screen. So we're going to go through these. This one was sent in by Kat. If you're a dog lover, you could appreciate this, especially since it's indeed a black lab that all foods must go to the lab for testing, because you never know, there might be COVID-19 on it. This one was sent in by Avery. I like that one. Yes. My wife is, she's not trying to be the best quarantine mom. She's just trying to remain sane, okay? So I don't know. How are things in your family with this?
Oh, my mom is she's chilling a lot. She's not really doing anything. I feel like she's not trying to be like the crazy mom either. So.
Yeah, that's solid. That's all right. That's all right. Now, we got some more COVID-19 related ones here, like this one. Ramsey's watching you complain about just one plague. Get it, guys? Bible joke because of the 10 plagues. In fact, ironic enough, you'll be talking about Moses in a little bit. So this guy knows what is going on. All right, now, if you're a Princess Bride lover, which I am, are you a Princess Bride lover?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. So Princess Bride, this one's good. Waking up every morning, 2020, be like, let's see where we are. Oh, yes, in the pit of despair. All right, so you need to have watched The Princess Bride to understand that one. This one, I think, this one's got some level of truth to it. Right, so you don't want to go large public gatherings, but yes, the toilet paper aisle at Walmart. Now, has your toilet paper, do you have toilet paper in your house?
Funny enough, one of my dad's friends sent us like a 48-pack, so we're good for a while.
Yeah, my wife started ordering this stuff off like Amazon, like a Walmart and Target, and then we've gotten it, but we clearly haven't used it. Like, I feel like bad having it. Like, I feel this level of guilt, but I've never had to go down an aisle like that. This one's one of my favorite ones. I actually like this one a lot. Me after hearing someone cough on my $8 round trip flight to Italy, because they're cheap, because no one's flying these days. I think this one was sent in, I'm pretty sure this one was sent in by Josie Kiggins. It sent a couple of actually these ones in. This one was sent in today by Allison Haley. I actually really like this one. Quarantine day 16. Hey, sometimes your roof needs a good vacuum as well. And Josie Kiggins sent this one in as well. Have you seen anybody wear a dress like this yet there, Sophia?
No, but I do think that we'll see this at like the Paris fashion show whenever that happens.
And I just noticed right now that all the toilet paper is behind them. So can you believe that they used all of this toilet paper for just that one thing? I feel like it's a waste, but that's just me. Yeah. This one's for all I messed up my thing. Let me go back. Here we go. This one's for all you Star Wars fans out there. You'd get it. You said you're not a Star Wars fan.
I've never seen any Star Wars movie. Fell asleep watching the first one, like whenever I watched it.
Well, you know what? Tonight we just found out that Sophia's not perfect, so that's a good. It's good. That's a good thing. All right. So this next one is a video sent in by Gray Lohman. This one's funny. I hope you guys like it. Yes. That's just a solid meme video. That is like, I think it was like Pixar intro on a budget, which was really good. Now we're back to our COVID-19 one. Students finding out classes are canceled. They're very happy, all right? And then students finding out that they still have to do online classes. So it's Toby's fault. blame Toby. This one I think was sent to me. Tristan Chick sent me like 45,000 memes, so most of these are actually his. All politicians are. Wait 1 second. Would you vote for that, Doc?
I would. He looks like a very trustable mayor.
Yeah, and I like that he's responsible enough to not try to drive that car, and he's going to be in the back seat and let someone else drive him around. So I already trust him. And this is my favorite one that was sent in by Sierra. So Sierra Y sent this one in. Don't forget to wash your hands. This is it's just beautiful. I really like it. So thank you all for everybody who sent in memes. We're going to look forward to our next challenge next week. We don't have that yet, but we'll let you know next week. And so if you're someone who sent in a meme, in a couple of seconds, we're going to have a challenge, not a challenge, but more of a game for you guys, so that the person who wins that, if you win the game and you sent in a meme, you will get double the prize of the Wheel of Destiny. But we're going to wait on that for a second because we have some announcements that we need to go through. The first one is this. As always, if you have an Instagram, please follow us at NCCSM. That's where you're going to find out when most of these weekly challenges are. That's where you're going to find the devotionals that are being done, mostly by Sophia. I did like 1 week, and they were so not as good as Sophia's, so we just let Sophia keep doing them because she's doing a kick-butt job at them. So make sure you follow us. Our handle's at NCCSM. And then, as always, Surf City has survived another week of still being on. We will see if it makes it to the rest of the summer. We really hope so. But right now, if you're not signed up for Surf City, please consider it. Just want to let you know this is one of our best not a weekend. I've said that 2 times already. Weeks away. Well, we hope this still happens this summer, but we will see. But we're planning on going right now. Hey, and so something we want to do actually at the end of this month is we've missed doing our say-sos here on Thursday nights. We've really liked doing say-sos in the past. And so this month, what I thought about doing was doing something called an April video say-so. And so all it would be is just you taking your phone and just doing this prompt and sending that video into us. And then we're going to make one solid montage to show, not next week, but in 2 weeks on April 30th. So we'll remind you guys of this. So during, all you have to do is take a video of yourself saying, during this time, God has taught me, and then fill in the blank, whatever the Lord has been teaching you. And we'd love to show that before one of our talks here in a couple weeks. We think that would be really great. And so here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to move on to our very, very quick game. So you might need a parent's phone. You might need somebody's phone. You might be on your computer, but you have a phone, sort of thing. And so we're going to be doing a game called Fastest Fingers. All right, Fastest Fingers, and it's a pretty simple game. The game goes like this. I'm going to put a question up on the screen real quick, and you have to send me the answer to that question, and I'll have the number that you need to text that to below. It's my number, by the way. And the first person to send in the right answer, they get a shot at the Wheel of Destiny. All right? So need to be paying close attention because this is really important. So the reason why I picked this is you are talking about Moses tonight.
I am.
How do you feel about Moses? Give us a sneak peek.
I'm actually going to talk about this in my talk, but Moses is like the Bible person that I like most relate to because he's like doesn't like speaking in public.
And yet the irony is that is this really public? Could we consider this public, or does the public see it?
I feel like it's private speaking, and then the public sees it. I don't know.
Is this easier for you to do in an emptier room, or is it easy for you to do? Is it easier for you to have people in the room or a completely empty, 300-seated room?
I think it's so weird in an empty room because I can't look at anyone, so I'm just looking at empty chairs.
I'm just going to sit right there so that you can make eye contact. But actually the camera's up there. Okay, so you should all by this time have, now that we've delayed long enough, you should be ready. All right, so here's the deal. I'm going to put this up on the screen. We're going to put this up on the screen. You have to answer the question. You got to text it to my number. Here is the question. Is what are the first 3 words in the Bible? Because Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Leviticus, Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. I got it, right? I work for a church. All right, so what are the first 3 words in the Bible? The first person to text me those correct answer will get the shot at the Wheel of Destiny. Waiting for those texts to come in. Let's see that first one that's going to come in here.
That was fast.
And wouldn't you know it, the answer was in the beginning. Anybody who had to go to their Bible, I don't know what to tell you, but you got a lot of text coming in here. Okay, so the very first person to send it in who's got a shot tonight at the Wheel of Destiny is Allison Haley. Allison Haley, she is going to be doing our Wheel of Destiny here tonight. I'm getting so many texts. They're blowing up my phone right now.
They really wanted to win.
They really wanted to win. So Allison Haley was the fastest one tonight. In the beginning is the correct answer. So Allison Haley, you're going to spin our Wheel of Destiny here tonight. We're going to get that set up real quick for you. And just so you know, because you sent in a meme, you get double. You get double of whatever it is that's out there. All right, let's see. We got a lot of different things up here. Let's see what Allison walks away with here tonight.
So suspenseful.
Ooh. Wow, a surprise Amazon package. I'm excited about this one simply because we don't know what it is yet. What we're going to do, though, is we're definitely going to look on Amazon, and we are going to send you 2 of whatever the surprise is. We're going to send it to your house, Allison. We have your address. Don't tell us how we know that, but we have your address, and we're going to send it to you, so expect it soon. But we're excited to send that to you. Way to go. Whatever it is you're getting, it's going to be double of it. I'm going to do quantity 2 on it. How about that? So we're so glad you guys are here joining us tonight. We're so glad you've decided to tune in. We're going to have a quick video for you guys, and then Sophia is going to come up to talk.
But we can hardly hear. It's the violence of sound, the breakneck speed of things. Has noise become our only defense? But we are drawn by a whisper that we might hear and retune the senses as he waits. Waits for our response.
All right. Are we good to go? All right, guys. I'm so excited to be here tonight with you guys. Tonight, we're going to be starting our series, Messy People, Amazing God. Tonight, we're talking about Moses. So, as I said before, I feel like I relate a lot to Moses because when I was a little kid, I was like the most anxious kid, so much so that I hated public speaking. I remember once when I was 4 years old, and I had to do this play for preschool. And I remember we went up and we were singing This Little Light of Mine, and I sobbed and ran off stage. So if you're wondering how much I hate public speaking, that's how much I hate public speaking. So again, I relate a lot to Moses, and I remember in the 6th grade specifically, I had to do a report on the Aztecs. Now, if you know anything about the Aztecs, you're farther along than me, because I remember in 6th grade, I knew nothing. And I remember telling my teacher that, and I was like, I can't do public speaking. I'm not qualified. I can't do it. And she was like, you're going to do it. And I remember we fought a lot about it. But in the end, I had to do it. And I remember I got up there, and I finished it. And then I walked off, and I just started shaking. I don't know if any of you get nervous that you start shaking, but that's my immediate response when I get nervous when I'm doing public speaking. But yeah, so Moses also was afraid of public speaking. So I'm sure you guys know about Moses. The first time we really see Moses in action, and the funny thing is that Moses wrote about himself in Exodus, but the first time we see Moses in action is when he's an adult and he kills a man. That's the first thing we hear about Moses, besides the fact that he was a baby who who floated down the river and was picked up by the Pharaoh's daughter. After all that, the first thing we hear about Moses is that he killed someone. And then he ran away and hid. So you guys might know Moses as like the great leader who led the Israelites out of Egypt into the promised land. But the first thing you hear about Moses is that he killed someone. And then he ran away. Not because he was distressed about his sin, but because someone caught him and was like, hey, didn't you kill someone yesterday? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go run into the mountains and never return. And then he got married and had a kid. And then this part comes, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know about, the burning bush. So this is when God speaks to Moses. And I'm sure you guys remember this part because you're like, oh yeah, God spoke to Moses in a burning bush. He doesn't do that a whole lot. But I'm sure what you don't remember is that Moses, when he's talking to God, God says, hey, I'm going to send you to speak to the Pharaoh about the Israelites and tell him to let my people go. And Moses says, no, thank you. Which I always found really funny. Like, I couldn't imagine looking God in the, burning bush. I couldn't imagine looking at the burning bush and being like, you know what, I'm actually good. Moses comes up with like a billion different excuses where he's like, well, I don't know your name. How could I ever speak to Pharaoh? I can't speak in public. And God's like, well, you're going to do fine. I'll have your brother speak for you. And I am who I say I am, which basically is God's way of saying, don't worry about it. So God called Moses to speak for him. And time again, he says no. And eventually, Moses gets fed up and he's just like, please send anyone else. And God says, no, I'm sending you. So again, we remember Moses as this great leader. But Moses wasn't good at public speaking. He wasn't a great guy in the beginning. The first thing we hear about is he kills someone, runs away, and then refuses to do what God asks him to do. Even though Moses saw himself as weak, God saw him as faithful. And it's not about what we can do, but it's about what God can do. And so we go along, Moses gets the Israelites out of Egypt, he parts the Red Sea, he does all these amazing things, he leads them through the desert, gives them the 10 Commandments, and at this point he's crushed opposition. His sister Miriam rises up against him and says, hey, I don't think you should be the leader anymore, and she obviously did not succeed in that. But Moses crushes that opposition, and he's dealt with all of this, so he's a great leader, and he's devoted to God, and he still messes up big time. So in Numbers 20, it talks about how the Israelites were grumbling and saying, like, oh, we really need water. Now, if you know anything about the Israelites, they complained a lot. In fact, they'd complained about water probably like 50 times at this point. And before, Moses had struck a rock because God had told him to do that. Moses struck a rock and water flowed out of it. And that's how he gave them water that first time. But this time, God says, hey, because the Israelites complaining, I'm going to have you speak to the rock, and the rock will flow water out of it. Water will flow out of the rock. But instead, Moses strikes the rock. And this is a huge mistake. And we may not see it as a big mistake. We might just be like, well, that doesn't seem like a whole big deal. But this showed God that Moses was acting out of his own emotions and not obeying God. He rejected God and took control. And this kind of reminds me of when I was 16, when I first got my license, or I was 17. But when I first got my license, I remember there's this rule, it's called the Cinderella rule or something like that, where you have to be home by 11, or you can't drive after 11 if you have your junior license. And I remember I was hanging out at a friend's house, and I got a text from my dad, and he was like, where are you? Because it was 11 o'clock. And I remember I turned my phone off, and I just did my own thing, and I got back at 11:45, and my dad yelled at me for like a half an hour, took my phone away, took my keys away. It was a whole big thing. In that moment, I rejected my dad and took my own control. In the same way, Moses did that to God on a much bigger scale. And Moses, just like I didn't go unpunished, Moses didn't go unpunished. He wasn't able to go into the promised land. So imagine you lead the Israelites, people who had grumbled against him for like 40 years at this point. And imagine going from Egypt to Canaan, wandering through the desert for 40 years, and dealing with these people, and then you don't get to go to the promised land. I probably would have thrown a tantrum. Like, I probably would have been like, I'm walking away from this, and I'm cool. You do your own thing. If I don't get to go into the promised land, I'm just gonna wander in the desert for another 40 years. But Moses doesn't do that. You see, Moses wrote Numbers, just like he wrote Genesis, Exodus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, all that. I'm forgetting Leviticus. But anyways, so Moses wrote Numbers. And you see right after Numbers 20, when God says, hey, you're not going to go into the promised land, Moses doesn't complain. He doesn't write about how he was super sad. He just moves on, and he keeps leading. I think this passage shows that even when we're mature and we've grown in our faith, we're still going to mess up, and God's still going to use us. He's not going to just cast us aside when we've sinned, but he's going to continue using us. So Moses was used by God. He led God's people out of Egypt. He dealt with opposition and grumbling and led people to the promised land. He interceded on behalf of the Israelites when they messed up. He literally went up to God and was like, hey, I don't think you should kill all of them just because they made a golden calf. And he was a spokesperson for God to the Israelites. God used Moses in amazing ways because Moses' sin doesn't negate how powerful God is. Just because Moses messed up doesn't mean that God can't do amazing things. You don't remember about Moses that he killed someone, that he ran away, that he hid, or that he said no to God a bunch of times towards the burning bush. You remember how God used him. Because God wants to use broken people. People who think that they're already great aren't usually the people who want to be used by God or are being used by God. We're all broken, and we usually look, like we as people usually look at the world in rankings. So like best to worst. We think of people like Bill Gates as really great people, and then we think about criminals as like the worst people. But God doesn't see us that way. God sees all people as broken, but he sees us all as people that he loves and wants to include in his plan. God doesn't want people who the world might consider great. He just wants people who are fat. And you might be like, what does that mean? And I'm going to tell you. FAT is an acronym. It's faithful, available, and teachable. He wants people who are faithful to him, who are available to him, and who are teachable. Moses wasn't all of these things all of the time. You know, sometimes he wasn't faithful towards God. Sometimes he wasn't always available when he said no to the burning bush. Sometimes he wasn't always teachable when he struck the rock. But overall, he was a fat person. And so God used him. And you see, Jesus' disciples, a lot of them were social outcasts, but they were also faithful, available, and teachable. God wants to use us. We just have to be faithful, available, and teachable. By using broken people, God shows us that it is him, not us, who change the world or fulfill his promises. Even though we're broken, sinful people, God still chooses to use us because our sin cannot stop God. It doesn't negate God's glory. God uses us in spite of our sin because he wants us to be a part of his plan. All right, guys, I'm going to pray, and then you're going to go to your small groups. Dear God, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. God, I pray that we would learn something from this. God, that we would learn that Moses, while he was great, also was deeply broken and deeply sinful, just like all of us. God, I pray that you would use us and that we would go throughout our weeks and try to understand how we too are broken people, but you still want to use us. You still want to include us in your plan. God, I thank you for this time tonight, and I praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. And go to small groups.